So this weekend, Frankie Edgar won by split decision over Pedro Munhoz. I was on vacation, and I just now this Monday evening watched the fight. Having known that Edgar won, but with my previous experience podcasting and doing MMA stuff, I'd like to say I'm pretty good at being able to clear all that stuff from my head and just watch the fight unbiased and score it as I watch it. I had the first two rounds going to Frankie. His speed, his combination, his volume was just too much better than at the early stages of the fight. Pedro Munhoz had those great leg kicks, but Frankie's volume was just better. It was landing more. He was landing the bigger shots even. So I had the first two rounds for Frankie. I remember watching the third and fourth rounds and sitting back and going, wow, I have no idea. Incredibly close. Realized that, wow, this really was, for sure going to be a split decision. So even if those two close rounds went to Munhoz, we're going into the fifth round with a tied fight. I ended up tossing them up. I ended up with Frankie in the third round and Munhoz in the fourth round. So at that point, that's already 3-1 for Frankie. But I knew how close it was, so I knew it was wild. I couldn't wait to see the fifth round. This fight was way more exciting than I expected it to be. It was just a spectacle. Frankie Edgar is just such an anomaly. His toughness, his speed. But I was super impressed with Pedro. He was the one who brought the pressure, and Frankie it was volume versus maybe quality of shots. The harder shots definitely for Munhoz, especially third round and on. Starting in the third round for sure. Like, he had those leg kicks for sure, but he was just kind of winging a little too much, missing, and that definitely gave me the edge to Frankie when he was landing more of those quick combinations in the first two rounds. But in the third round, it became like some quick, maybe not as powerful, great 3 and 4 and maybe even 5 punch combinations for Frankie that were landing a lot versus three like key shots for Munhoz, being the stiff jabs, the leg kicks, especially now that he was getting into a little bit more of a flow and landing them with better setups and better success, and then those right hands at the break of the exchanges. Frankie comes in, lands his little flurry, but Munhoz made the adjustment to land those right hands as they were breaking apart, and because Frankie kept, after an exchange, circling to his left, so those right hands were there. So it was like great adjustments made mid-fight, and the biggest fight of Pedro Munhoz's career for sure. But then it gets to the fifth round, and Frankie was just too good. Frankie's shots were bigger. There was more of them, and he was slipping all of Munhoz's shots. So it was pretty clear for me. Fifth round for Frankie. I ended up with 49-46 for Frankie. Even if both those two rounds being third and fourth, I gave them to Munhoz because they were so close, I still would have had Frankie winning the fight 48-47. It was an incredible fight, man. Frankie at bantamweight is exciting, and he didn't look to lose a step. It seems like he didn't have any trouble cutting that weight. He's always been kind of small for featherweight, his whole career. But I don't know what he plans to do next. But I don't think either guy lost much stock because Pedro looked great, and this is kind of one of those things. Is like, well, what can Frankie do with the other bantamweights at the top, and what's Pedro's bounce back fight going to be? It's very exciting, man. It was a great fight. I did notice, and I wanted to bring up, at the very end, with like 2 seconds left of round number 2, there was a cup shot. There was a low blow, and Herb Dean intervened and stopped he said stop, with 2 seconds left, as if it was, okay, low blow, stop the fight, give the guy 5 minutes up to as a unintentional low blow, and that's what you do. And he stops it, and then after 2 seconds of them literally stopping, going into the motions of a low blow, the horn sounds, and they just went to their corners. Their cornermen came out. Herb Dean just kind of stood there, and they just ended the round. And man, Herb Dean, UFC fans that have been watching a lot, Herb Dean has just always been in those tough situations, and he just always seems to be a little too unsure of what to do. Where, like, if that was Mark Smith, if that was back in the day John McCarthy, even Chris Tione's been doing pretty great lately. Even the guy who sometimes pisses me off but is very good, I'm blanking on his name, Mark Goddard, not John. All those guys would have been a lot more like taking initiative, taking control of that situation, going, hey, this is what happened. When those situations happen, those guys, those good refs say, hey, this is exactly what happened. I'm taking control. You would have kept the corners out, and then 2 seconds off the clock. It doesn't matter. It's just about keeping that control of what's going on in there. And Herb Dean's just always been that guy that makes maybe possibly a mistake and then just kind of freezes up on it. And it's happened so much to the point that back in the day when me and my buddy Ben were watching the fights at B-Dubs, it'd be like a big main event, it's time, and then everyone would see that Herb Dean was the ref, and our whole group of people watching would just go, oh no, something weird's gonna happen. So once again, yeah, it didn't seem to affect anything. I'm sure it wouldn't have affected anything, but it's just like, when I saw it, I had to jot a note down. I was just like, man, Herb Dean, another one of those, didn't take control of the situation, and it's just not being talked about. But incredible fight. I was happy to watch it. Let's on to the next week.